I'm joined by Henry Uniacke here in the studio. We've met many times in the past, normally down at things like in Peel, but you've got a completely different hat on today. How would you, a campaigner, environmentalist, how would you like to describe what we're going to talk about?
Because okay, I would say I'm lobbying
a lobbyist
in this capacity with my background in solar energy, primarily in renewable energy. So I'm lobbying, in this particular case, the case for climate mitigation and a 3-year.
Okay,
3 years. 3 years.
Well, let's get to the first one. The Chief Minister's just gone on to say which 30 or something for the cars and that sort of thing, and there's going to be now a climate emergency, which last week he didn't seem to want to do, but this week he did. And okay, that's his timeline, quite long. And then you're coming up with, this is no good, this has got to be a 3-year sort of thing.
Well, if it's an emergency, then we have to treat it like one. If it's not an emergency, then we don't. Yeah. So I am proposing 3 years to achieve carbon neutrality.
How on earth the Isle of Man can do this? I mean, surely we just follow everybody else, don't we? How can we do it?
The only real energy resource we have, which is our green gold, is the sea and the wind primarily. In future, as more technologies mature, we might have others, but at the moment it's wind and offshore wind. And with offshore wind, with a single wind farm, we can offset all our carbon production, and that's a phenomenal amount.
Okay, so a wind farm set out at sea, you don't want it on the land, you just want them out there in the water, right?
Well, if you have it on land, you have restrictions because people are living amongst the turbines and distances between them. For a start, we have 7 times the territorial area as sea than we do of land. So the territory of the Isle of Man that is sea is 7 times greater. And it also means that it's at a distance, which means you can put what are actually large structures at a fair distance from where people are living, enjoying their lives.
I've been to presentations for years. It was Dong, I think they've changed their name now, but they were talking about this years ago, and the Isle of Man getting on with this, because the UK has come up right to our borders, hasn't it, in the sea terms. I don't hear much going on about it. I mean, you must be worried about that, and there hasn't been a drive.
There has been silence. Ørsted still have a proposed wind farm on their books. I see them primarily as waiting for the government to take action, and for the government to take action they have to feel that the population want this.
So you reckon 3 years to build the turbines out there?
Yes.
And I mean, the wind doesn't blow all the time though, right? So you can never be quite zero, because you always have backup to everything that, I mean, okay, we've got the electricity coming in if necessary, I guess, but is that what you think it is? We have to have that.
Okay, let's start. First of all, it's about 40% capacity, all right, of what the wind turbines can theoretically produce.
40% of the Isle of Man's needs?
No, 40% capacity of each turbine can actually, because the wind's not always blowing, and sometimes it has to be serviced.
I see. Okay. So you've got 40% of the time.
You've got 40% capacity of its full capacity overall during the course of the year on offshore wind in these high wind areas. Now, we have to think more globally, or at least beyond the borders of the Isle of Man. We do have the possibility of receiving and sending electricity across to the UK, and we have done this actually when the power plant went down. Sure. We coped. Now, we have to think European-wide now. Across Europe, will the wind always be blowing? Well, in some areas yes, some areas no. But when you then combine it with other sources of energy, solar for example, which is a good balance to wind, the long summers and brighter summers, the sun is higher in the sky, and various other technologies of which are always developing, then we have less need for storage. But in the meantime, we have the best possible backup. We have a gas turbine. A gas turbine can be turned on and off quickly. Now, if you want emergency services, yes, kerosene jet engine turbines. I mean, they're the fastest to turn on. We know how fast it takes to start up a plane. It's how long it takes. So for hospitals and so on, there will be backups and systems like this probably already in place, frankly. I think Manx Telecom actually have one.
Right. Do you think there's the will from the government to do this?
The will from the government will only come if there's a will from the population, but the population have to understand that this is the only feasible proposal is wind. The only feasible proposal is offshore wind, because the others simply won't supply that capacity. We can trickle it and gradually grow it over the 30-year period, but if we really are serious, then we have to use wind.
You've got any expectations here that you would like to become a politician? I mean, I'm just gauging early on here.
No.
You're not going to announce or anything like that for the thing. So how can you, I mean, are you a group? Are you a person? I mean, how do you put pressure on people to move this forward?
I'm a person, but I simply want to send a message, this particular message, because there are so many bits of information, and a lot of them are very good. There's also an awful lot of objections that are so simple that they seem feasible, a bit like saying, oh, well, the wind doesn't always blow, what are we going to do? So there are various red herrings out there. For example, people terrified about the amount of storage available. Storage. So I want to put out, well, if we're serious, then in 3 years we can be carbon neutral, albeit we wouldn't necessarily be using the electricity we're producing. It doesn't matter who's using it, as long as we are offsetting our carbon dioxide emissions.
You only touched on it at the very beginning, because obviously you've got the wind power, but you've got tidal. Now, tidal is one thing, it is guaranteed.
Yep.
But it still hasn't really found its niche yet. It's still very much under development. Do you agree with that?
Yes. So wind and solar energy, where they were 30 years ago, is where we are probably with tidal in terms of development. Often the will comes first, the technologies are there, but they tend to be built upon year on year until they become mature technologies that are reliable. So tidal will be here, but not yet.
And when it does, we'll be fantastically served.
We are fantastically served.
With
You obviously
tides.
you have to build barrages of some sort. With some wave technology, that's not necessary, but wave and tidal. But it's quite possible in 30 years' time there will be a completely different technology that we haven't yet thought
about. It's been great talking to you. If people want to get in touch with you, should they ring you, or what? You know, if they want to join your band, what's the best way?
I've put a petition out on a website that you will be able to link.
We can put it up,
Yes, sure. So there's a petition out there which is talking about zero carbon in 3 years, so carbon neutral in 3 years. That's my primary form of correspondence.
Right, well, we'll see what happens.
Check my Facebook site.
Well, we'll catch up well before 3 years, but were you surprised with the government, the way they suddenly came out on last Friday with this stuff?
I think it's very encouraging. I think it's great.
But do you feel they were committed? I mean, they're just following the UK, aren't they, really?
I think probably the Isle of Man has a tendency to follow when it could lead, because it has, as I said, it's got a phenomenal green resource here. We're the envy of the world in terms of the beauty of the landscape and surroundings, but also our energy resource that we have, the green energy resource. We have got green gold here.